What's happening, everybody? How's everybody doing today? I'm really happy to be here. Thank you so much, Gail, for having me on the show again. I think this is a really cool show. Just to get to hear jazz artists and their path and their journey and what they've been going through, because everyone has a different story and everything. So thank you for doing this, Gail. This is really awesome. And so hopefully there'll be a few people in here. Feel free to ask me questions. I love questions. I probably won't have the answers, but yes, ask away and or just say hi. Let me know you're here. Perez, I see you. What's going on? Um, so my name is Richie Goods, and from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and tell you a little bit about my story. Back in 1969, a man went in the cotton fields. No, that's not the story. Okay. But yes, I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and came up in a real kind of musical family. And my mother played for church, and she was the piano. It was a small church, but she played piano and was a choir director, and so. Have a background in gospel music, and start taking piano lessons when I was 5. I wanted to play the drums. My mother said, being the musician that she was, knew better, and she said, no, you have to play piano first. If you learn to play the piano, then you can play drums. So at 5 years old, I started taking piano lessons. I studied for 3 years, and then finally she said, okay, you could play drums. So I always thought I was going to be a drummer. But, through middle school, when we used to have middle school band, the drum parts were a little too easy for me. So my teacher just said, well, go in the back room and teach yourself another instrument. So I taught myself how to play saxophone, which after middle school, I auditioned for the Performing Arts High School, Kappa, in Creative and Performing Arts High School in Pittsburgh. But at the recommendation of my middle school counselor, he said, yeah, you have a real talent. You should, audition for the Performing Arts High School. And I said, okay, well, I'll do that. He said, but if you do this, it should be with the intentions of making a career out of music. And that's the first time I realized. I was like, you mean I could do this for my job? Like, this could be what I do? He said, yeah, sure. And I appreciate him. And I don't know his name. I wish I could get in touch with him, because not too many people encourage people to have a career in music. But this counselor did. And so for me, it was never a question of whether I'll make it or not in the music business. This was just what I was going to do, and it was, and I think that's a good way to if you're, a young musician or something getting into music. I would ignore first of all, you have to know that you have a talent, but if that's true, then I would ignore any comments of people talking about how hard it is to make it in the music business, and not too many people make it, and poor struggling musicians. If that's what you want to do, go 100%, and you have a much better chance of making it if you go 100%. So anyways, I auditioned for the Performing Arts High School, actually on saxophone and drums, and I also played piano, because I used to play piano in my church as well. But I got into the school, and I always remember my first day of school. And I'm definitely not a cocky person. And there's a part of me that's a little bit shy too. And I got to that school. I didn't know one person in that school. But I remember the first day, the music director, the whole music department was there, ninth through 12th grade. And he gave us this lecture. He said, now, I know this is a special school. He said, but don't think just because you're going to the school that you're going to make a career out of music. He said, out of all the people in this room right now, maybe only one of you will actually have a career in music. And that's when I stood up and faced all these kids that I didn't know. I said, well, sorry guys, that will be me. I don't know why I did that. That was the class clown in me, but I wasn't joking. And he told me, yeah, it was David Knapp. I remember. He said, yeah, with that attitude, it probably will be you. And but there were a few others. When I got to school, I was primarily a drummer, but I wasn't good enough to get in the jazz band. I see my mom's in here, Cassandra Jones. How you doing, Mom? I don't know, if you don't sign up for this StreamYard, your name comes up as Facebook user, so I don't know who some of these people are in here. But, okay, so, what was I saying? So I'm in the Performing Arts High School. I wasn't good enough on the drums to play in the jazz band, but I was studying drums with the great Roger Humphreys, who was, he played with Stanley Turrentine, Horace Silver, on one of my favorite jazz records, Horace Silver's Song for My Father. I found out Roger Humphreys was on that record, and I started doing some research on Roger, and he really helped inspire me getting into jazz, because I was like, wow, I have like a real live jazz legend teaching in my high school. So I just listened to whatever he said. And hey, Aunt Desi. And but in the jazz band, I wasn't good enough. His son was playing drums, and Brian Edwards, and all these guys that were really good. And so I was playing xylophone in the jazz band. But then somebody gave me a bass, and I just started practicing. And there was this guy there, Chance Howard. Now he lives in Minneapolis. He played with Prince for many years, but he was going to my high school. He was a few years older than me. Was a ridiculous bass player. So I used to watch him every day in the practice rooms, and then I would go home on this bass that this guy gave me, and I try to emulate what I heard him do. After 2 months, some guys heard me playing in the practice room, and they're like, dude, man, we need a bass player for our band. I was like, I'm a drummer. And they're like, dude, no, man, you're killing. And so I went and kind of auditioned for their band. It was like rock and pop and R&B and all this, just about everything. And they loved me, and I got in the band. I was actually lead singing some of the songs, and playing bass. But that was electric bass. But I got addicted to the bass, and I just couldn't stop playing. So I would just practice. Hey, Destiny, how are you? And so yeah, I would just practice every day, like nonstop. As soon as I get home, I just grab my bass. And this is not a message for young people, if there's any young people watching, but I kind of stopped doing my homework so I could practice. I would practice 6 hours a day sometimes on school nights, and I'd be up till 2 in the morning, 4 in the morning. I just couldn't put my bass down, and literally sleep with my bass. And then, hey, Rusty, how you doing? What happened? My first influence on the bass was Bootsy Collins, because my Aunt Desi, who's here, I remember her always talking about Bootsy Collins and George Clinton and the funk. And in my neighborhood, the way I came up, when people asked you if you knew a song, you didn't sing the melody or the guitar line or anything. You sang the bass line. And the bass was always the cool Bootsy, that's right, Bootsy. And so as soon as I got that bass, I just started learning Bootsy Collins solos. And that was my dude. And then I started getting into jazz, listening to Ron Carter and Ray Brown. And but then this guy across the street from me, Artie Scales, he asked me, he said, "Yeah, are you going to see Stanley Clarke next week?" I said, "Who?" He said, "And you call yourself a bass player and you don't know who Stanley Clarke is?" So I was like, "Well, I guess I gotta go." And I went on a school night, a Wednesday night. Stanley didn't come on the stage till about 11 o'clock at night. And but my mom, being the supportive mom she is, let me go. I went by myself. And he came on and I was just blown away. And so from then on, I was just trying to learn every Stanley Clarke record I could. That was one of the first records I bought was Stanley Clarke School Days. And then I found out he played acoustic bass as well. And I thought he was the greatest bass player on the planet. So I said, I want to be the greatest. Stanley plays acoustic and electric. So I started learning acoustic bass. And then I just got into this real straight ahead thing for a while. I went to Berkeley. I was still playing like R&B, funk, but then I was playing a lot of fusion. I was really into, Stanley Clarke, John Scofield, Mike Stern, Pat Metheny, and all that stuff. And but yeah, I went to Berkeley College of Music and was just doing everything and lots of performances and but still addicted to practicing. And I was between waiting tables and practicing. Sometimes I didn't have time to go to class, so I would do what I needed to do to pass the class, but I thought it was more important for me to practice, so I stepped up my practice. I was doing 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day. I remember a few days doing 13 hours. It was kind of an addiction. And so, and that's another piece of advice for young people. And when I do workshops and stuff, people ask me, a lot of people sometimes they're looking for shortcuts to getting good. There really is no shortcut. There's one way: practice. It's just practice. And everybody, like Allen Iver said, practice. We talking about practice. We talking about practice. But yes, every musician, like great musician on the scene that I know, at some point in their life put in tons and tons of hours of practice. So that's what it is. Oh, Michael, what's up? How you doing? Nice to see you here. Yeah, you're not that young anymore, but it's never too late to practice. Okay, so let me talk about some current project. Well, just real quick, after Berkeley, I started playing with, as soon as I graduated, I was touring with Christopher Holliday at the recommendation of Anthony Wanzi. He got in his band, and that actually graduating was a scary thing for me because a lot of the cats from Berkeley, they right after school, or they usually left school and got a gig, went on the road. But I graduated, and then I was like, oh no, what now? I better hold on to this waiting tables job. But fortunately, like maybe a month after I graduated, I got this gig going out with Christopher Holliday, with Anthony Wanzi and Ron Savage. And we were on the road for a year, Europe and the States. And then after a year, I left that to do Walter Beasley. I was doing a few gigs here and there with Walter Beasley. And then he was doing a tour with Brian McKnight, and Brian didn't have a band, so Walter said, well, my band is killing, why don't you just use my band? So I got to play with Brian McKnight, and while I was on the tour with Brian McKnight, I had met Mulgrew Miller maybe a year before that when I was out with Christopher Holiday, and he said, "Oh man, you sound good, man. Let me get your number. I'm gonna give you a call." So I gave him my number. Oh yeah, he's not gonna call me. But Anthony Wanzi said, "No, if Mulgrew said he was gonna call you, he's gonna call you." So it was a year later. I was out with Brian McKnight, and Mulgrew called me, but Brian, I kind of committed to doing. He had another 2-month tour coming up. Mulgrew had 2 gigs at Visione's, a small club in the Village, right down the street from the Blue Note, this now Groove, and so I canceled Brian's whole tour. I just quit the band to do these 2 gigs with Mulgrew. But I was praying. I said, "Look, I gotta play my ass off because I want this gig." And so I think it went pretty well. And after the gig, Mulgrew said, "Okay, I got some more things coming up, and that started a 10 year with Mulgrew, which I think I couldn't have made a better decision. And that's what led me to all the other things that I've been doing in New York. So, let's see, what current projects? Well, first of all, I want to invite you guys all out to, my birthday is February 10th. And I think this is the first time I'm doing an actual show of mine on my birthday. So that's going to be crazy live. Please come out. Chelsea Table and Stage. I played there, in 2021. Unfortunately, the turnout was not that great. It was a new venue, and I don't know what was going on. I blame everything on COVID these days. But this time, I think it's an awesome venue, and fortunately, they're having me back, and we're going to have fun. And it's February 10th at Chelsea Table and Stage, 7 o'clock. So please get tickets like now, and because I'm hoping it's going to be pretty packed in there. I have an awesome band with Alan Mednard on drum, Quentin Zotto on guitar, and Mickey Hayama on keyboards. And other projects I'm working on, Chin Chin Lu, we've been collaborating all through the pandemic. That's one thing about the pandemic. What time is it? Okay. It was interesting during this pandemic. The first month was really dark and depressing because I've been on the jazz scene or music scene, period, for like over 30 years now, and it's been good. It's kind of been just kind of gradually going up, but there's been some slow times, but never no times. There's never been a time I had no gigs, so I didn't know what to do. And so for the first month, I watched Netflix, I drank, I ate like crazy, gained a lot of weight. But then I decided, yes, pancakes in the pandemic, yeah. And but then I decided, okay, this thing is gonna be here for a while, so let me take this time to do some things that I've always wanted to do and I haven't gotten to. So I went deep back in the sheds and start practicing a lot, learning some new things, some new techniques on acoustic bass and electric bass. And my thing is, I felt like I had to be better coming out, and so I just wanted to get some work done. And I think I think part of my mentality, just as a musician or as a person, I just always want to try to do. I just want to do my best to get ahead. And sometimes, as a musician, I just see so many amazing. I think that's what keeps me humble is I see so many amazing musicians out here, and so I don't think by any means that I'm the greatest or anything, but um, I feel like one thing I could do is put in the effort and put in the work, and I think some people are not willing to do that. So I just always thought if I work harder, if I put in more work, more time than other musicians, maybe they might be more talented, but maybe I'll get the gig. And so that's what I did during the pandemic. I just did my best to write, practice, and so I started collaborating with Chen Chen Lu, who's an awesome vibraphonist from Taiwan, and our project is almost done. We start writing, and the record, I think we're going to drop it March 18th, sometime around that, sometime in mid-March. And man, we have this song. I did an arrangement of "Someday We'll All Be Free" with Jamison Ross sang on it. If you don't know Jamison Ross, look him up. He plays drums and sings, and he's just awesome. So we did a version of SWV's "Rain" and a bunch of originals. So I can't wait for you guys to hear that. Soon as that's over, I'm going to start working on my next record. And I've been doing a lot of producing as well. I think I've been producing ever since high school and learned I had a talent for that. That's not for everybody. I think a lot of people produce their own records. Some of them are great, but a lot of them they could have helped with. It would have helped them to have a producer. But as you see on the screen, me and Chin Chin's record, actually, it's our band name is Connected, and that's going to be the name of the record as well, Connected. Because like during this pandemic, I think we all start realizing how connected this world is, how connected we are. And we also saw a lot of division in this world. And at the beginning of the pandemic, people were saying, this is, a Chinese, virus and everything. People didn't think it had anything to do with us. But what affects one person affects everybody in this world. We're all connected. We all came from the earth. We came from the same thing. And then we start seeing the division with Black Lives Matter and Asian hate and everything. But, really, we just need to stop it. We're just all one. And so we're connected, and that's what this project is about. So, does anybody have any questions? Feel free to ask questions. But yeah, that's what I've been doing is working on that. Yes, an outside ear is great in creating a record. What else? Oh, one of the topics Gail asked me to touch on is advice that I've gotten from musicians or someone. And one thing this is nothing like earth-shattering or anything, but I remember when I got to Berkeley, and my teacher was John Neves, and he was a great bass player. He passed away after my first year at Berkeley, but he played with a lot of the cats back in the day. And so I was studying with him, and I wanted to learn the coolest stuff, and I was like, oh, he's going to teach me the really hip stuff. And he was like, okay, yeah, we'll get to that, but can you read? I said, like, yeah, I can read. He said, okay, read this. I could read. I didn't say well. And he said, we're going to work on your reading. And man, the whole year, all we did was work on my reading. I was so mad, but after the fact, I was so glad that that's what he did, because that was my weakest part. And I'd say at least 40 to 50% of the gigs that I've gotten in my career, I couldn't have done if I hadn't worked on my reading. Victor Bailey, he was another person. He came to Berkeley, uh, Victor Bailey came to Berkeley. He heard me play. I was playing some fusion stuff. He goes, "Oh man, you sound amazing!" And I got to hang out with him and talk with him. And one of the things he said, "Can you read?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Make sure you could read, because when you come to New York, if you can read, you'll do some damage." He said, "But that's key." So I appreciated that. And I see, is the Goods Project touring this year? We're working on things. We're doing, in May, we're going to Europe. We're doing Switzerland, Paris, and we're still filling that in. And hopefully, some festivals over the summer we're working on. And in the fall, I'm praying, Gail? Yeah, I'm really working on touring more. But I think once this record is out with me and Chen Chen, hopefully we'll be doing some things together. And then when my record is out, I'll be doing more things with my band. And Facebook user, who's this Facebook user asking about my basses? Never thought you would ask. Yes, this is my bass wall. I'm a one bass guy, and basically I pretty much play. I stick to one bass. So most of these basses you see are semi-retired, but they're amazing basses. There's one bass. Oh man, let me show you my first bass. BC Rich. This is the bass I played in high school. And then when I got to Berkeley, I had another bass, a Barrington, that got stolen. It was one of my favorite basses. Then I got this bass. This is a Warwick thumb bass. When I was on tour with Brian McKnight, Walter Beasley, and when I first got to New York, I played that bass. Also, I think with the Manhattan Transfer, I was playing that bass. Finally, I left the Manhattan Transfer. I started playing with the Headhunters, with Mike Clark and Bill Summers, and with Lenny White. And then I got that. This is Fender Jazz, the Victor Bailey Fender Jazz. And that thing is amazing. And let's see. A company in Japan gave me this 5-string fretless bass, which sounds awesome. And I do play that a lot in the studio, and on this new project you'll hear some of that. This was a birthday gift from my wife and kids on last year, because I was doing a lot of stuff in the studio during the pandemic, and so I wanted something like a Fender Precision, so that's that. And then this one, this is my baby right here, my Federa. I endorse Federa basses, the most awesome thing I've ever played in my life. So that's my current bass. I've been playing that for about 5 years now. And Facebook user asked me, did I record on all of the Baylors? No, actually, I only did one song on the Baylors record. I tour with them occasionally, but I played on one song, which happens to be the song that they're nominated for a Grammy. And see, had they had me on the whole record, maybe the whole record would have been, no, no, I'm kidding. But, that record is awesome, though. Their record is awesome. And the song I played on is with Jamison Ross, If Only You Believe, which is beautiful. And, I've also been working with Lisa Fisher a lot with her band, Lisa Fisher and Grand Baton. And that's, if any of you guys know Lisa Fisher, that is amazing. That's an amazing band. And I've also been doing a lot of stuff with Gloria Gaynor, which is so much fun. I know you know Gloria Gaynor. I Will Survive. And she is such a beautiful woman. And I think my time is just about up. But I just wanted to share this, like, and all these people, they're just beautiful people, and that's where I'm at right now. I just want to be around beautiful energy, beautiful people, and just make good music. It doesn't have to be the b- most amazing musicians in the world. I want to be around the most amazing people in the world at this point. And but I do want to get paid though at the same time. But I'm going to share this before I go. And Gloria Gaynor was saying that, um, back in the 70s, I Will Survive, she won a Grammy. After that, she told her label she wanted to do a gospel record, and that's where her heart was, in gospel. And they were like, "Yeah, no, but we'll get to that. But let's do some more stuff. Let's get another Grammy, and then we'll do the gospel record." And she said this went on for 40 years. She was trying to get this other Grammy for her label, and they wouldn't let her do a gospel record. Finally, after 40 years of no between Grammys, she said, "Look, I'm doing my gospel record. So forget all y'all. I'm doing what I want to do." She did her gospel record. Don't you know she won a Grammy for that gospel record? So that's where I'm at right now. I'm not trying to please anybody. I'm trying to please myself. That's what my mom always told me. You can't please everybody, so just please yourself. So hopefully somebody will, love it. All right. I gotta go. Thank you guys so much. Please reach out to me, richiegoods.com. And hey, Mark, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in. But richiegoods.com, follow me, sign up, subscribe, sign up for my mailing list so you'll know where we are going to be. And yeah, that's it. Look for my new record. And I'll see you February 10th. We're going to party. That's my birthday, February 10th at Chelsea Table and Stage, 7 o'clock show. All right, get tickets early. All right. And see you guys later.